Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome back to another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show Live. We're here to recap night 3 of the Cap Run. It's been a great week. Last night was another amazing show. Yeah, what
was that? That's 3. Yeah,
3?
yeah, yep.
What were you questioning about the way
I've never seen somebody signal a 3 like that before, so I just was pointing that out. Yeah, but in any case, let's continue. Let's talk about the music.
We're going to talk about it, and as we teased yesterday and posted on socials, today's a very special episode of Always Almost Megan. Once again, we've got our very good friend Megan Gliona here. Hi, Megan.
Hey guys, it's so good to see you, and I'm so happy to be on the pod today.
Yeah, great to have you back. Thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure. I feel like every time you come on the pod, they've played So Ready and Labyrinth in the show.
This is true. You stole my line. I was going to say that.
Oh,
it's like here we are again to talk about the resident expert on Labyrinth.
I contemplated seeing if Brian was available, so we could have him on again to do another soliloquy about the Labyrinth.
I mean, that one was too much.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. He's only allowed to come back on if he's wearing a t-shirt.
No blazers.
No blazers.
Yeah, well, you know, he always wears a button down. And when he came on after Red Rocks, night 1, he was in a t-shirt, and it shocked me.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Happens every once in a while. Well, we had a great night last night. Megan, this was the second show of the run that you were able to catch, and it was a lot of fun. But how did you feel after being on the couch on Monday night and being in the room Sunday night? How did you feel going into last night's show?
I was super excited. I thought Sunday night was unbelievable. One of my favorite Goose shows I've ever seen. I think the energy of that show was just through the roof. And I was just really happy that I got to be in the room for Cotter's first show and have that emotional release that you could see the band really felt, and just be in the room with everybody and experience that together was super great. I really, really loved set 2 of night 1, and it just blew me away. So I was excited. Monday night, I was home with the family, got to watch the show and hang out, and really enjoyed parts of it, especially that Into the Mist. And last night, I was really excited. I brought 2 teacher friends from school. One, it was her first Goose show. She'd never even heard a single note of Goose before last night. Yeah, which was really fun. And then I also brought another friend, and it was like her 3rd show. And they had the best time. Ryan can testify to their enjoyment. They just loved hanging with everybody before the show, and it was really fun to watch their reactions throughout the show and see what they thought. So it was really fun. They were a blast, and They can come with me again anytime.
Awesome. Whereabouts did you guys end up on the floor?
So I tend to like to be kind of right in front of Jeff, over by Peter. There's those little bump out balconies, the little VIP sections. I like to be by the 3rd one, kind of just tucked in a little bit. So it's a perfect spot. You can get great video there and see the band. And I can actually see them at the Cap, I think, because how the floor is sloped a little bit. So even though I'm really short, I can usually see the band, which is thrilling.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil, how were you doing on the couch last night? Have you recovered from Sunday yet?
I think this is the first day I feel normal after Sunday. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a rough go of the week so far, but no, kind of settled in. And I got to be honest, I only listened to the first set last night, and then I went to bed, and then I listened to the second set today.
Smart.
Because I was still recovering.
It happens.
But today I feel great.
I was gonna say it's good to see you back in the shower.
I'm back in the shower. Tile just for you. Yep.
Well, yeah, it was another amazing show. And let's dive in. Continuing the trend of just amazing energy throughout. And one of the things I was thinking about earlier, once we talk about the second set, is despite some setlist calls that were usually less than ideal for a second set, the energy was still high throughout the entire show. Because I think there's just so much excitement right now from every single person in the room. Megan, I don't know if you felt the same way about the energy last night.
Absolutely. I think, I was wondering if it would match up to Sunday, because it was such an exciting moment, such a kind of like a once in a lifetime thing for the band. And I felt it right away. And I think the band is really lit up by this kind of new change in the lineup. And I think they're really excited about how they're playing together. And I know they've been playing a lot together and rehearsing a lot. And the trust that I heard between them is something I'm excited to talk more about too. And I think the energy was definitely there as well. And the crowd, I mean, the Goose crowd is always energized, but especially this week, I felt it. The Cap is a special place for them. And it's so fun to see them. And especially knowing they're not going to play small venues like this anymore. So
Sure.
it feels really special.
Yeah. And they opened with Wisteria.
Love it.
And I forgot to look up the stat, but when was the last time they opened a show with Wisteria? Like that was awesome. I'm going to consult the stats now, but Megan, why don't you start us off? How did you feel about the Wisteria?
Loved it. I mean, one thing that's really standing out to me from these guys this run is just their willingness to sit in quiet and be really patient. We were talking about it last night, Ryan, after the show. It's really kind of that Manu effect. It's the end of Wisteria, the way that they settle into that really quiet space. It's so patient. And I love opening a show like that. It just shows a lot of confidence to me to open up and play a jam that gets really quiet. Like that's pretty cool.
There we go. Awesome. And after consulting the stats, this is the first Wisteria show opener since 10/30/21 and only the 8th time ever.
Wow.
Stats.
Neil,
what did you think?
I was at that show too, believe it or not.
Well, it's a forgettable show.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, yeah, Wisteria opener. Again, this theme of we're just doing stuff differently now, right? We've had to take a step back from this band, think about set lists, think about songs, and fresh new takes, which, man, is really exciting because 2023, I think, became a little bit of a slog for people who are listening to like every show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, and I don't think I'm saying like anything terribly negative there. I think it just kind of like, it all started to feel the same. So to have these kind of new looks is exciting. I think the sound was incredible, nice and quiet. Peter with an incredibly fuzzed out guitar for a bit. That was awesome. I mean, that tone, that sound, not really anything you would associate with jam music. Kind of reminds me of like really kind of like fuzzed out shoegaze indie rock. And that's the vibe that I got from that Wisteria. And 18 minutes of that, it actually like felt a lot shorter in the moment. So maybe like 18,
Agreed.
19 minutes. And I kind of was like scratching my head when they started Echo of a Rose. I was like, that's it? That's all that we get? When I was just expecting so much more. But, upon re-listen, really good stuff.
Yeah. And the last few minutes of it, when they got into that spacey zone was so good. Again, it's more that full band communication in jam spaces like that we'd hear more of later on in the show. But this is an amazing, I mean, it's a hell of a way to start off the show, right? And yeah, I when they were going into Echo, I was kind of like, okay, like I felt like that section at the end could have had, a little bit more exploration, but I get, you're 19 minutes in for a song of the show and they want to play other songs.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by their commitment to jamming this week. I think when I was thinking a lot about Goose last year and last spring, I was wondering kind of where they would go if they would continue to kind of develop their jamming and like really think about like consistently jamming big. And I was hoping they would. I think that's really crucial to like engagement long term with this fan base. And I felt like they came back and this week and have really shown that. I mean, 4 songs last night, either almost hitting or hitting over 20 minutes, 2 in the first set, 2 in the second. It's a real commitment to like exploring.
Yeah. And then, so first set continues. We get that Echo, nice, quick little fiery version. Nothing crazy there. And then Bob Don, shout out to Kev. This is Kev's portion of the set right here with Bob Don and It Burns Within. Kev is the king of the 8-point It Burns Within on Fantasy, though I don't think he did that last night. No. This Bob Don is really cool because Peter's playing Vintage Vibe on the verses for the first time ever. Amazing tones there. And as soon as he did that, I was so excited because when I play Bob Don myself, obviously I don't know how to play guitar. And I've always envisioned like if there's a keyboard part for the song, it's like that thick Vintage Vibe electric piano for the verses. So it was so cool to actually hear that coming from the stage. But yeah, Megan, what did you think of this next segment of the set here?
Yeah, I loved all the two guitar Goose last night. It felt like there was a lot, which was really fun. I love seeing Peter up there get to guitar and then also with Jeff on it too a bunch over these few nights. It's been so exciting. Everybody wants to get on the guitar these days. I guess that's just like the cool thing to do. But they sound amazing, and I love Echo of a Rose, Bob Dawn, It Burns Within, like, 3 songs to me that are so lyrically strong and just exactly what I love about Goose is that his ability to write songs that are it's interesting because Rick has this real vulnerability when he writes music and writes lyrics, but he's also able to tap into really kind of big themes that universalize it, and it's a way to make people connect with a song both intimately and kind of in a larger way, and it's really hard to do, and Rick does that so well in so many of these songs, especially these 3.
Yeah, and I just realized I totally spaced on noting the "It Burns Within" bust out last night. That's the first version since the Cap last year, which is 79 shows.
Oh, nice.
So I apologize to everybody out there for me slacking on that. We can also blame
For
Neil
shame.
for not remembering.
I don't know. 79 shows a bust out.
Over 50.
I don't want to open up that conversation right
No,
now.
it's
But
Yeah,
I
be
don't think
careful
it's
what you ask for.
inexcusable.
the the website notes it if it's over 50.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
but
anyway.
yeah, I mean, great trio of songs. So this is rarity night, right? This is what you get. You're getting a Bob Dawn with, and I feel like you have to like say that with some inflection to kind of denote how little of a with it was.
Yeah,
It's like in a tiny voice, like Bob Dawn with.
I could tell it was going to be one of those like very brief whiffs when they did it because they didn't really like embark into the whiff jam the way they do sometimes. But it was like, yeah, they're just going to noodle around it for a minute. But even a little whiff is better than no whiff.
A little whiff, tiny.
Little,
but in any
little
case, yeah. So we got that. That was like exciting, then disappointing. But It Burns Within, always exciting.
Yes,
that's just an incredibly rare song. I mean, it's been like played like 7 times ever. And
Wait,
I mean, that's like
wow.
it's
I
8
don't
times
think I
ever.
realized that. Wow.
Yeah, very very few times. So, and it's an oldie. It's a big time oldie from way back. So that's always an exciting one. And then what's the other one I'm missing here? Talked about Bob Dawn. Oh,
Echo.
Right. Oh, and then the very short Echo.
Yeah,
that was another one where it was like, man, why? Like,
why an 8-minute
jam that one
Echo?
out?
Yeah.
You could have saved it for the second set.
Sure.
Like, that was disappointing, but
still fun.
It is what it is. That's Echo of a Rose. It's a mixed bag. Sometimes you get a huge jammer, and then sometimes you get this, and cool, I guess. But
and speaking of huge jammers, then we get Thatch. I did not jump off the balcony, but I did jump really high in the air when they started playing it. Like, I mean, we were waiting for it. It was funny. It's funny to think about. I was thinking about like a lot of these songs, like they were last played in Europe, which feels like so long ago.
Wow.
But there were only the Goose shows after, and they didn't play a lot of these songs at Hampton. So it's like, yeah, the last Thatch was in London. Like crazy to think about. But this Thatch was awesome. Peter's clav, again, second night in a row, like where the tone is just really sticking out on that thing. He played the clav during the verse a little bit where he normally plays Vintage Vibe, which sounded really, really cool. Of course, because more clav is better in every scenario.
Always.
And then layering that OB6 in the jam, wasn't the most adventurous Thatch, didn't go, like crazy type 2 places, but it was incredible. And that synthesizer is so good. One of the things last night versus Monday night, on Monday night, we talked about yesterday, there was a lot of lead stuff from Peter on the OB6. And last night, I think he was using the same patch, like the same sound, but more for like textures and like chords. So it was really cool to hear the versatility of that sound. Megan, what did you think of the Thatch?
I loved this Thatch. First of all, top 5 Goose song for me. Thatch, this song's incredible. I think the design of the song, the way that it's laid out, the wild energy behind it, and the fact that it was instantly a jam vehicle, just top song in my book. But this synth section, when Peter kind of like transitions over to that synth, it was just so shimmery and incredible layering. I loved the communication. I thought it sounded incredible. And Rick is maybe the best guitarist at, and I'm sure someone's going to like tell me I'm wrong about this, but at bringing a song back from a jam. He's so good at it. And I love how he did that in the peak with Thatch and often does it in the peak with Thatch. But it's so cool to be like, have a song peaking and then have it hit back into the riff.
It's just the sickest riff.
It's the sickest riff. It's so satisfying and it hits so good. And it is great. I was so happy to hear it. You know, when you're only doing 2 of the 4, there's certain songs that you definitely don't want to miss. And Thatch was one of them. So
Yeah.
I was pleased.
Neil, thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I mean, if you like dancing and you like jams, like that's just like
and you
the
like
song,
good
right?
songs.
Yeah. It's got it all. I've heard people say that Thatch has been overplayed, and I insist those people are terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun when you see it live. And especially if you get a jammed out version like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think argument against Thatch early on is like you weren't maybe getting like the big exploration kind of jams, but now you kind of are, right? And like this one is different, at least to my ear. It felt different than the kind of Thatches that we were getting last year. There was no like darkness. It wasn't like a total like funk fest, like if I think of the Ryman last year. You know, it was something, I don't know, more developed than the Thatches I've heard so far. And it didn't feel, I don't know, it just didn't feel the same as last year. And so that's exciting. The song's going new places. Of course, it doesn't feel like last year. 6 months have passed since it's been played.
And there's a new drummer.
And there's also, there's, you know, that elephant in the room. There's a new drummer. So this version was really cool. I am excited to go back and listen to it because I've only heard it once so far. So it's sounds like pretty good.
I think it holds up on re-listen.
Agreed. And then the set closes with the debut of Give It Time. This is a Visuto song. We learned after the only recorded performance was that little trio gig that Rick, Jeff, and Matt did in September 2022 in Connecticut. There's some video of that on YouTube, I believe. But interesting also, like with some Visuto songs, at that performance, that was a Matt Campbell lead vocal with Rick harmonizing. So it's always cool to hear. Same with like Rockdale with Visuto as a Matt lead vocal. So it's cool to hear them, you know, kind of how the song is different with each of them singing. But this song is incredible. You know, it has that Rick and Matt Campbell touch to it, unmistakable. But the lyrics are amazing, the music is amazing, and I can't wait to hear it a bunch more for the rest of the year. Megan, what did you think of Give It Time?
Absolutely loved it. Perfect placement after the Thatch. And I love to close out a set with like a new really like introspective song. I thought it was beautiful. Again, the lyrics, like the chorus of this song, it's really magical. It's a revelation, a hallelujah. It's the nature of the spirit running through you. It's, you know, Rick is able to kind of dance with cliche in his songwriting, but it never sounds cheesy when he does it. I don't know how he does it, but this chorus I kept listening to on repeat today.
16.
I mean, 16 years old. Like,
how do you do that?
I don't know. And I was listening to it today and I just kept playing it over and over again. And it felt like, I don't know, just like a way forward or a place to find like solace when you're struggling with stuff in a way that I find Goose is really able to hit. And, you know, Goose is kind of an emo band. They like to put you in your feelings. And I was in my feelings for Give It Time. And I can't wait to hear it. And I really hope it becomes like a huge jam someday because I love when they jam out of ballads.
Tyler, I fully support you belting this song at the top of your lungs at your next show.
Me too. I'll be doing it too.
Neil, what are your thoughts on Give It Time?
I mean, this is an interesting song. It reminds me of Everything Must Go in a way, in that it starts small and it ends huge.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how Rick does that, but he does it so well. He just writes songs that just somehow morph from one thing to another entirely. When I'm not gonna lie, first few bars of the song, I was like, you know, all right. Like,
sure,
this feels like it could be anything. And then by the end of the song, I was like, oh my goodness, this is nuts.
Outrageous.
Yeah, outrageous. I haven't said that yet on the
I know.
And it kind of like reminded me, like, I don't know, like almost like Peter Gabriel. Like it was just like
sure,
big,
sure,
and,
yeah.
like the drums were forward in it, and like the vocals were forward, and everything just sounded right at the end of this thing.
That's a really great parallel to make.
I
Yeah.
think it
Definitely
is
has
good
Peter
comp.
Gabriel vibe
Mhm.
for
That
sure.
was
Yeah.
like the joke I was saying last night. Like that was a sick, Peter Gabriel cover. But in any case,
Totally.
I'm thrilled about this song. I mean, when bands write new music, it can go one of two ways. You hear it the first time and you're like, "Ugh, I don't like this at all," or you can be like, man, I can't wait until they play the next one. And that's the category that this one falls into for me.
For sure.
It's gonna be killer.
For sure. And it was a great way to close the set as well. And I love that, we're now, I'm stumbling over my words. We're now 3 shows in. We've had 3 debuts, whether it's, like Salt, which is a brand new song, or the 2 Visudo songs that they've brought into the fold. But it's nice after, only having 3 songs debuted the whole year last year. And it's been over a year since Goose debuted new original music. So it's amazing to see these really high quality songs coming into the rotation. And one of the, we talked about songs still on the table on yesterday's pod. Like, we've gone 3 shows now and we have not seen any song like California Magic, Turbulence, Mr. Action, like, that group of first set staples, Silver Rising, that they were getting played. Like, you couldn't really see a show last year without getting one of those.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and we're 3 shows in and they have not been found. Turbulence was on the set list for 2 shows. But it's remarkable what they're doing with the rotation already. And there's 1 show left and there's so much material that you'd think, like, you can't leave that out of the 4-night run, but there's going to be so much that's going to get left out of the 4-night run.
No Animal.
Animal as well. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy because they played the heck out of that last year. So here we are on night 4. I mean, I think it's fair to expect an Animal tonight.
Yes.
I'd be pretty surprised. And I think it's fair to expect like An All I Need Tonight and stuff like that. But
Tumble.
Out of the songs that you mentioned, like maybe you don't get a Tumble on this run. It's entirely possible. But like out of the, I don't know, I don't want to call them ballads because they're not, but the more songs, there's going to be many that aren't played in this run, especially ones that were played on average about every 4th show last year or 3rd show even. If you're thinking about Silver Rising. So,
which is so interesting. I was thinking about this a lot, about how they approach set listing with a new drummer who's learning all of this material, and some of it, like Labyrinth, incredibly complicated. I'm just wondering if they, if they thought about like him working on the songs that they were going to play for these shows, or if they just worked on him learning the catalog and then worked it back. Like, I'm just very curious as to how they designed the set list for these shows with that in mind, because Cutter doesn't seem like he just learned these songs at all.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, he's a heck of a drummer.
God.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more clear, like every show, I wasn't sure what to think. And like, you get this guy from like a much lesser known band, like, what's he going to be like? And I mean, they knew that this guy had the chops, and he definitely does.
Yeah. And so moving into the second set here, we'll talk about kind of the Shenanigans nightclub theme that happened later in the set. But before we get to those songs, we got to talk about this Redbird, because this is a ridiculous jam, outrageous even. I was floored during it last night. I've listened to it 4 times already today. It's just unbelievable to me. There's so much going on. They're so locked in, like, it's like words cannot describe this jam. But it is currently my hasty top of my playlist. In terms of ranking, yes.
Wow.
I'm obviously, when I get home and we get the boards of all 4 nights, I'm gonna listen to everything again and figure it out.
I'll remind you, they played a 30-minute drive on night 1.
I know.
So, okay.
I know they did.
And a sick pancakes.
Yes,
and those are pancakes.
Those are number 2 and number 3.
Okay.
But this Redbird just, like, it blew me away last night. I was in like disbelief, for the last segment of the jam, as they're hitting that peak. It reminded me some of the vibe to it. Obviously, it wasn't the same kind of spaciness, but there was a certain layered quality that reminded me a bit of the Eugene Bourne at times in that jam. But it was amazing. Yeah, I know people are saying missed too. Debate is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Love a discourse. But Megan, what did you think of the Redbird?
Yeah, I really loved it. I I loved how Peter and Rick were really echoing each other. Peter was on the piano. It just sounded so beautiful. I agree with you. I thought it sounded really locked in. There's one moment that really stood out to me, and Cotter was doing these fills and just like these kind of rolling fills and just moving the jam along. And I was watching the show on YouTube again this morning and seeing him like roll through it. And he was like undulating his whole body. And then Rick just started soaring above him with those like really hopeful notes. And Trevor was playing these really long, sustained notes. They were super restrained and just adding tons of weight and depth. And I was blown away. I thought it was really beautiful. And yeah, I thought it was a great jam. I don't know. I haven't listened back, but Pancakes like floored me in the moment. And so did that drive. So I don't know. I'll have to listen back to judge, but
Yeah. Will it
jam.
stay at the top of the playlist?
It's okay.
We'll see.
Tell Ryan he's
Yeah.
wrong.
That's why it's hasty. It's the beauty.
Hasty
It's the
rank.
beauty of a hasty rank.
it
Neil,
is
what
the
do you
beauty
think of the
the hasty
Redbird?
rank.
Listening to it this morning.
Oh man, this Redbird. Okay. I mean, there's a bunch of things I want to talk about. I want to kind of underscore Megan's point about the drumming in this. I mean, there are past Redbirds where the drumming space has opened up and you get kind of a drumming show. I don't think that's actually what this was. This was just, dude was just going insane. And it wasn't like
Yeah.
a drum solo. It was just melodic. And I think
Yeah.
that's a thing about Cotter that I'm starting to realize is that he's like an incredibly melodic drummer. It's almost as though there is like, notes coming out of those drums when he's playing at times. And I love that, man. It's so good. And there's this section where he's kind of doing that whole thing. And then Trevor, instead of just kind of doing normal Trevor, which would be, just kind of plucking away at the bass, just started playing chords.
Yeah.
And like that can sound good or bad depending on how a bassist does that in a song, but it was just right last night. And he had just the right amount of space to pull it off. And then Rick started playing chords along with Trevor. And then it was all just kind of like they were laying down a nice rhythm for these incredibly melodic drums that were just going insane. And that is the good stuff, right? Like that is
Yes.
the beauty of improvisational music
Well,
right there.
You just articulated that way better than I did. But
Yeah, that was beautiful, Neil.
That one section was just that it was magic, man. And so I'm excited to go back and listen, but I still think probably Night One jams are better.
Yes,
that's fair.
Team Night One.
That's fair. That's fair. I won't dispute that now. Give me a few days, and then we'll talk once I've solidified my rankings.
I need more listens too.
Yes.
I only have like 2 under my belt right now.
So then we get to the Shenanigans nightclub portion of the show where they played pretty much everything on the album, which is really interesting, given that they played Moon Cabin on Monday, but they'd already played Flow Down on Sunday. We did not get the Thunder ending of Dark Horse. But we got all the other stuff, right? That's the whole album, right? But we get this nice section here of So Ready, Spirit of the Dark Horse, and The Labyrinth. Obviously, this is not a full play of the album in the way that Moon Cabin was, because this is not an order, and they didn't play everything on the album, obviously. But it's cool to see this grouping of songs that are from the same album, and whether it was intentional on the band's part or not. It's interesting to see this together. But for mid-set 2, I will say that So Ready, No Jam, Dark Horse, Labyrinth is not the best placement for those songs, at least together. If that's in the first set, a little bit better. But, my point earlier about the energy carrying the band through, like at some shows, you may see like the energy dip, especially when, you skip the Dark Horse jam and go right into Labyrinth because it's the Labyrinth. But the energy was high. The energy stayed high, and they crushed it. But I went to the bathroom twice
In that 3-song part?
Yeah.
You must have been really hydrating. I'm impressed.
I drank a lot of water.
It's night 3. Man, that's a good run of songs. I hear your point. If you are like Ryan Storm and you are there for the jams and you are there for the jams alone, then
what? Not the jams alone.
Well, and clap tweets, fine. But if those are songs to be excited about. That is a fun show. I mean, Dark Horse is always fun, and it's just so rare
Yeah. My
You
second
know, if
one.
you've seen them all and you've ticked all the boxes, then you're like, okay, I get to see another one. But I mean, only a few playings of Labyrinth ever. And
Yeah.
if you get to see that, that's exciting stuff. So not bad. I do agree that that's a tough section of no jams and a second set.
Yeah.
Where you really want the jams in the second set. You want to dance, you want to kind of vibe out, but still good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, the Labyrinth definitely felt more dynamic than it has in the past. I will say, it didn't feel like it was 45 minutes long like it did at Red Rocks. So I'll give you that. But you know, still don't need to hear it a ton. Megan, what did you think of this stretch?
Yeah, it's nice to hear Neil's perspective. I think that's helpful, especially this was my first Dark Horse, and I didn't love Labyrinth when I heard it in Red Rocks, but it's nice to think about these songs as rarities that you don't get that much. But I didn't love this section of the show. I thought that the first set flowed so well that, you know, when you have a first set that flows perfectly, in second set, when it doesn't, you can really feel it. It's just so jarring against a first set. But I agree about the energy staying up. You know, So Ready. I'm been on this pod and talked about my feelings about this song, but I don't think you should sing about sex this fast. And I've said this before, but I really think it's worth repeating. If you have written one of the sexiest songs ever, you need to play that version and just never play this one again, because it's just, this is one of those times where Rick's not writing with a lot of innuendo. It's very clear what the song is about, and he's got it so perfect. And when you play it slow, it's just everything. So like, why are you playing it fast? So
Team
that's
slow.
Team Slow, like, for sure. I think also the placement of slow is like, it can be so perfect, whereas So Ready, I don't know, I think that's like a first set song, whereas slow, like, you can play it like, you know, after a big jam, or you can play it at the end of set one and like send everybody off like to set break, like lost in their fantasies. That it's just such an evocative song. It's just really amazing. And my like only plea is that they just only play slow. That's just, I'm just going to say it again because I have the platform today.
I would not be
But
mad.
yeah, I don't see a need to have it fast. Labyrinth, though, I've had a little evolution on this song since Red Rocks, so it's growing on me. I think it's a cool kind of sonic exploration, and even though I don't think it helps momentum in a set, especially after a song like Dark Horse, which is a little bit like slower and vibier, I think it is a really cool song, and it's such a risk to play a song like this and to play it in a big run like this. Like, I think it's cool, and it's weird. The parts of the song that I don't like sound the most like Fish to me, which it doesn't really make sense because Fish is my favorite band. But there was a moment in this song when Getty released The Fog, and it completely made the band disappear. Like, you couldn't see them for like a minute, almost maybe 45 seconds. And it was so unbelievable because it totally went with the music. It got really quiet, and then they just kind of appeared out of the fog as it dissipated. And this is just a moment, a perfect moment, and a perfect example of how Getty is just elevating this band's shows. His work is so off the charts, unbelievable. He is such an artist and a true innovator, and I'm so excited to see what he's doing. And I got to talk to him a little bit last night after the show, and he talked to me about the new rig. And I thought it was really interesting. He started working on it on January 1st, and it was all, you know, he does it all on the computer. And then he didn't see what any of it would look like in real life until a week ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is incredible, to build something for months and months, not know what it's going to look like, have it come to life a week before, and half of that time is like you hanging it, so you don't even really see what it's like. And then you have to show the band, and you know, he was like telling the band about the fog, and he didn't know if they'd like it, and then they thought it was awesome. And it's just really exciting to see him and imagine what he's going to do going forward, because his work is just totally blowing me away, and he's fairly new to this, and I think it's really exciting. They're really
Yeah,
lucky to have him.
And he did mention also that this is not the same rig we're going to be seeing when they're playing somewhere like, you know, the Man or Forest Hills, like, you know, the huge venues.
Yeah.
he said it's going to be similar, but it's obviously going to be bigger. So
although it's it's all the smoke from like the man rig, and they just like put it inside the cap and just filled the cap with the smoke.
Yeah, and he's already working on Goose Mist, so there you go.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. That of course he is. That's awesome.
Although, but speaking of the lights, I'd be remiss not to mention the Redbird lights last night, where he kind of had the bird on the stage. That was pretty sick.
I didn't notice.
Did either of you pick up on that? Oh man!
No.
So go back, watch the video. It's like like he's got like a full bird made out of lights, like
That's
wings
so cool.
spread. It's pretty awesome.
I did not see that. That's so cool.
That's awesome. Also, if
But
anyone wants to hear an even more fun discussion on So Ready and the Labyrinth, you should go check out our day after show from Red Rocks Night 1 from last fall, because that is really something. You can watch Brian Brinkman deliver a soliloquy on the Labyrinth of epic proportions.
It's a 90-minute
really
episode,
good.
if memory serves.
Yes,
the longest
Yeah.
episode.
I think it's like 100 minutes. Like it's over.
There's
an hour
a
and
lot
half
of us
long.
on it. There's a lot on. We had a lot to say. It was so fun.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And all of us were on like 3 hours of sleep too.
Yeah.
So it was-
Oh, we were thriving.
yeah.
Epic run.
Let's talk about this Madhavan here. This is you have we talked about the beginning of the set, not the best placement, but the bookends, the Redbird and the Madhavan, phenomenal jamming. And I love the way, we're now used to like that deconstruction at the beginning of the Madhavan jam. They hit after the guitar solo and usually like float for a bit. This one, like, I thought maybe they were going to like segue into something and skip the jam or do like, the Moby, whatever, because they all like kind of stopped playing for a few seconds, which I thought was really cool, for the dynamics. And then what they built from that, again, Peter, what he's doing on Vintage Vibe and on synth here was spectacular. I was initially like hoping that we were going to get a big 2-guitar Madhavan because we haven't had that in a very long time. But I was immediately not upset about it anymore as this jam started to unfold. Like there's this menacing tone to it at times. It was a spectacular way to close the set, and watching Rick kind of cue Cotter into different things, be like, to like when to speed back up and kind of go for the re-entry. But it was amazing. I loved this way to close the set. It's a second set closing Madhavan. Like,
that's how you do it.
Yeah. Megan, what did you think?
Sorry, Reba has a lot of thoughts. Neil, why don't you go and then I'll go after you.
Yeah, sure. I got this. Yeah, this one actually reminded me a lot of last year's Cap Madhavan. It had, just had space to it. It had a weirdness, kind of ethereal quality to it. And then, I like menacing. That's a pretty good adjective to get in there. But it had, I don't know, it just had a lot of character to it. There wasn't much in the way of like, I don't know, notes to point to where I say like, okay, like this little musical section here is like, I really enjoyed this part. But it was just the overall vibe of the Madhavan was sick. It was so good. I just listened to it again right before we started recording because I needed to hear it again because it was so, I don't know, it's just got space and it's good. It's really good.
Very good.
Yeah, I agree. I feel similar to how I felt about the Wisteria, that it has a patience and a quietness to it that is super compelling. And I think to start and end the show like that is really beautiful. I love how eerie the beginning of this jam is right away. I really love this jam too. And I think they sound like they really trust each other, which I think surprised me because they're kind of new to playing live together, this exact group. And you can hear it in moments like this Madhavan or the Wisteria where they just feel really settled and really willing to sit in that silence and go slow. It's great.
Sure. Yeah. And then we get an SOS encore. We talk a lot about placement for this song. I love this song as the encore. I love this song as a set closer. I love this song. It's amazing. This was also one of the ones we were talking about. This song is very much suited to Ben's drumming style. So we were like, how is it going to sound with Cotter? But once again, Cotter proving that he is more than up to the task, obviously. And this was a great way to end the show. My only complaint about it is at the beginning, in that first, like normally clav break, Peter didn't play clav. And I had a clav tweet ready, and I was very sad.
Yeah, we're going to mark that in the list of things only Ryan Storm notices at a show.
Yeah, right.
I don't
So
think I
true.
would ever think of that and be like, oh, this is, yeah, well, whatever. But yeah, man, SOS closer of a show, sure. I like it closing anything. Close the first set with it.
Yeah.
Close the second set with it. Start the second set with it. It's always the same, and that's okay because it's just fun.
It doesn't need to be different. Yeah.
It's the same old.
Yep.
And it's one song, just in case anyone was curious.
Yeah, let's not go there. It's gonna have chat go off.
Well, yeah, and then great way to finish off the night. And so we go into tonight, and people are throwing around speculation. Are they going to play Dripfield, tonight? The album, and
It'd be sick.
To that, I say I think there's a very high likelihood that we at the very least get Hunger Sight and Dripfield. Born also very possible. Arrow certainly on the table. But obviously they already played Hot Tea. We could get a Slow Ready tonight because Megan's not coming. But there's a lot. Just as we said before, there's so much on the table for tonight in terms of jam vehicles, in terms of songs. Like, normally by this point in the run, like I feel like night 4 and night 5 of the cap last year, we had a pretty good idea of what was going to be on the table, what was going to be played. And the fact that we've gone 3 shows, we have had 1 cover song, and there's still so much available. Like they haven't played Empress either.
Wow.
Yeah. So on that note,
that's gotta be tonight.
Yeah, I feel like Empress is coming tonight. I would be surprised if you don't see that. But what we do need to see, and I expect on this run, and maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe they're going to be kind to the guy. But, Connor's got a mic back there, and he sang a little bit on the new tune last night.
So did Trevor.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
that.
I wanted to bring that up. I mean, he was he was into it too. Like, he wasn't like kind of sheepishly like, like kind of like saying the words like, Jeff playing the guitar on the Dawes jam last year, where it was just like, is Jeff really playing? So where was I? Oh, right. So is Cotter going to sing? That's the question. I hope there's a cover tonight. I hope Cotter takes a verse, and that is what I'd really, really, really like to see. And then, of course, another new song. I feel like there's got to be another one in the tank, right? I mean, there's a theme going of you get something new every night, whether or not it's like an old Visuto song or something is, we'll see.
It's kind of cool. It's interesting that they've only played 1 cover. I don't think I realized that. And that's a real statement. This band plays a lot of cover songs and they're so good at them. And I think it's almost like a reintroduction. Like, this is who we are, and this is Cotter playing all of our stuff. And it's kind of a cool way to go about it. I do miss some of their covers though, because I love when this band covers songs. But
yeah,
I think it's smart. I think it's the way to do it.
Sure. And I think leaning very heavily on originals for this run was absolutely the right call. We're not going to see stretches of 3-4 shows without covers come summer tour, I bet. But it's amazing what they've been doing the last 3 nights. And I can't wait to do it again tonight. It's going to be fun. And then 6 weeks of no Goose again to digest these shows and get ready for summer. And then we've got a lot going on in June. And I cannot wait for that.
A lot going on in some monster venues. Exciting.
Yeah.
It's gonna be big stuff. I mean, it's real tour, right? Like, this is gonna be the first time that it feels like a real, like, actual kind of going through the whole process, going to sheds, from shed to shed, even in some cases.
Yeah, exactly. So, how exciting.
It's gonna be massive.
Well, thank you to everybody who tuned in today. Thank you, Megan. As always, it's such a pleasure to have you on the pod. We look forward to doing it again soon. And we will see. Yes, she did. She always does. Always. Thanks, almost Megan.
Well, I love being on. Thank you so much for having me. And every time I get a little bit more relaxed because I am a little nervous being with the Goose experts, but it's so much fun. And I can't wait to see Goose again and come talk to you guys about it.
Awesome. Us too.
Can't wait.
Us too. So we will be back tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to try to not take a nap through it because I will be tired. But we'll be back tomorrow to talk about night 4. Very much looking forward to that. And whether you're on the couch or going to the show tonight, have a phenomenal, phenomenal time. And thank you again so much for watching. See you guys.